After 14 years, 100 million accounts, and 7 entire expansions, including the all-new Battle for Azeroth, World of Warcraft is still the reigning defending champion of massively multiplayer online RPGs. Blizzard didn't create the genre, but they perfected it and grew WoW into a global phenomenon that's changed the way we think about interacting in the digital space.
What do you say, guys? You can just hang outside in the sun all day tossing a ball around, or you can sit at your computer and do something that matters.
I'm Andrew, and this is why we live in the World of Warcraft. Let's start by exploring how it conquered. WoW wasn't the first MMO by a long shot, and it wasn't even the first popular one. The genre has its origins in the multi-user dungeons, or MUDs, of the late 70s. They were text-based hack-and-slash adventures that ran on university mainframes. Neverwinter Nights introduced graphics to the text-only genre in 1991, while the release of Ultima Online brought the genre to new levels of complexity and popularity, and gave it a name, courtesy of creator Richard Garriott, who coined the term MMORPG in 1997. UO paved the way for future success stories like EverQuest and Guild Wars, most of which you can still play and exist today, although the player count won't come close to the population of Azeroth. World of Warcraft was announced in 2001, and when it released on November 23rd, 2004, it completely changed the game for, well, games. Most of its systems were inspired by the earlier MMOs. The fixed classes, farming, and quests, they were all present in the dozens, if not hundreds of titles that came before it. But Blizzard made these accessible. In their pursuit of creating a convincing, immersive world, some of the older MMOs forgot about the gameplay part of that equation. WoW chopped up Azeroth into convenient, instanced zones. They streamlined the crafting and character creation process and eliminated the harsh penalties of permadeath with the brilliantly simple corpse run. But its most important innovation might have been its focus on questing. Earlier games were characterized by long periods of hunting and grinding, but WoW's gameplay loop was built around carefully crafted quests, perfect for shorter sessions and more inviting to the larger audience that was used to the curated single-player experiences. Sure, it was a step back from the immersion that EverQuest delivered, and you're gonna have to farm a lot of boars at first.
Boars? There's lots of computer-generated boars in Warcraft that die with just one blow.
Do you know how many we would have to kill to get up 30 levels?
Yes. 65,340,285.
But as you grew familiar with the game, the quests ramped up in complexity, escalating into intricate, almost puzzle-like raids that require precision, teamwork, and hours of time. Every bit of content in WoW adds to the world and the backstory, which was another big part of its initial success. Coming off the hugely popular Warcraft 3, a game so influential that even its mods have spun out into their own industry-dominating genres. Blizzard had 3 games and 10 years worth of lore to set the stage for their MMO, and they've built on it with every expansion that escalates the stakes, along with the level cap. Warcraft's lore is a huge part of its appeal, and it's also a major reason why it endures. WoW was a smash success from the get-go, racking up more players in its first week than every contemporary MMO on the market combined.
Does the international addiction to an internet game represent a danger? Maybe, but there is also no indication that anything can slow the explosive growth of the intoxicating game called World of Warcraft.
And in the years since, it's accumulated over 100 million players and $10 billion in revenue. Naturally, other developers wanted to come at the king, but so far, no one has been able to touch World of Warcraft, even with established IP that should give them a leg up on the long-running franchise. Look, Star Wars Galaxies came out a year before WoW, and initially it provided a more old-school sandboxy role-playing experience, but once WoW came out and the subs started dwindling, the developers began messing with the formula in an attempt to make their game just like it, resulting in a muddled mess that pissed off the old fans and didn't put a scratch in Blizzard's behemoth. 14 years later, we still haven't seen an MMO that even comes close to World of Warcraft. Star Wars: The Old Republic is still one of the most expensive games ever made, and it racked up 1 million subscribers in its first 3 days of release, but it couldn't hold on to them. And today, it's just another free-to-play game living in WoW's wake. From Star Trek and superheroes to Final Fantasy and Elder Scrolls, a ton of established franchises have dipped their toes in MMOs, and a lot of these games are actually pretty good. Some are even great. Final Fantasy's fantastic, and I love Elder Scrolls Online. I don't care what anybody says, but they have one major problem. Just one. They're not World of Warcraft. People try them out, a few stick around, then the vast majority return to the comfort and familiarity of WoW. Me included. I cannot tell you how many accounts I've made on how many MMOs, and I just come crawling back to World of Warcraft because it's just like a warm blanket, a warm fantasy blanket, and I don't want to leave it. After all, how can a game possibly compete with a juggernaut that's still thriving after 14 years? God damn, this game is old enough to almost drive. People have literally grown up with WoW, and it's grown up with them. Today, the World of Warcraft is a very different place. The graphics have been tweaked and refined to stay up to snuff with modern standards without losing the signature look and rock-bottom system requirements that made it accessible to players around the globe. Gameplay and quality of life features have been added too, like dungeon and raid finders to make gathering your party way more convenient. So now you don't have to stick in the middle of Stormwind and be like, hey, I'm looking for a group so we can do Blackrock Depths, and nobody answers you because they think that you have noob equipment and you haven't played before, and then you're just sitting in Stormwind for 5 hours. I hated that. Not only that, but the landscape of Azeroth itself has evolved. When Deathwing erupted from Deepholm, kicking off the Cataclysm expansion, the resulting catastrophe drastically altered the continents of Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. For example, the Shimmering Flats, once an empty canyon that housed a racetrack and a pretty sweet Star Wars Easter egg if you look for it, was permanently transformed into the Shimmering Deep, a flooded lake that now houses Fizzle and Pozic's speed barge. Changes like these keep the game fresh for people playing for a decade, but if you're still attached to the way things used to be, like if you miss the old Barrens or Orgrimmar's original layout, like I do, you can play WoW Classic, an upcoming iteration introduced by Blizzard after custom vanilla servers like Nostalrius attracted hundreds of thousands of players, all wanting to play the WoW they fell in love with. WoW is not a game anymore, it's a living, breathing thing, and that's okay because this is how it changed the world. WoW is a cultural juggernaut, and even beyond spin-off games like Hearthstone, its lore is strong enough to support tons of books, comics, in-game cinematics, merch, multimedia experiences, crossovers, and hell, even a major motion picture. That one didn't turn out so hot over here in the States, but it didn't hurt the franchise too badly, and it hasn't stopped celebrities from openly gushing about the game.
I'm Mr. T, and this is my night elf mohawk.
God, T, there's no such thing as a night elf mohawk.
Shut up, fool!
From Robin Williams to Ronda Rousey, WoW has so many high-profile players that at one point Blizzard used them as spokespeople for TV commercials.
I'm Aubrey Plaza and I'm an orc. What's your game?
And when Blizz learned that Trey Parker and Matt Stone were devotees, they partnered with the duo to produce one of South Park's most incredible episodes ever. Make Love Not Warcraft. The in-game machinima segments were created using real character models and acted out on the alpha server for Burning Crusade. Also, side note, this was the episode of South Park that actually got me playing the game. Despite the stark portrayal of poop socking,
Bathroom!
What, hon?
Bathroom! Bathroom!
Liz clearly had a sense of humor about the episode and added the made-up Sword of a Thousand Truths as an extremely rare in-game item.
Dad, how did you get that?
No time! Just take it!
Of course, you don't need to have a cable TV show to make an impact on Azeroth. Homegrown memes like Leeroy Jenkins
Oh my god, he just ran in.
Have taken on a life of their own, spreading far beyond the digital space and circling back to be included as an NPC in WoW. You really can't ask for anything better than that. And he even got his own card in Hearthstone. Outside of pop culture, the game has had plenty of real-world repercussions too. An entire cottage industry of gold farming exploded overseas, and by 2009, there were over 1 million full-time farmers in China alone, grinding away to earn in-game currency for IRL sales worth over $300 million a year. WoW made a major impact on the GDP of a global superpower, and its complex in-game economy has served as a case study for how things work in the actual world. But it doesn't stop there. In 2005, Azeroth was rocked by the Corrupted Blood pandemic, in which a deadly debuff cast by Hakar the Soulflayer unintentionally spread throughout the world through people's pets and minions. Essentially, this big bad boss could infect you with a virus, and he would infect these characters' pets. If you're a hunter, a warlock, whatever, you would take the pets away, go to a major city, summon the pets again, and through a bug, they would have the virus on, and the virus would actually spread to other players. And it killed them all.
No! You have a mixture all wrong!
The virtual plague was studied by actual epidemiologists looking for insights into the virology of SARS and avian flu. And while WoW's applicability to actual science is still up in the air, there's no doubt that it changed the way we think about and interact with games. From the first day they switched on the servers to the last battle for Azeroth, millions of players have spent billions of hours questing, raiding, and bonding inside Blizzard's creation. No matter if you're Horde or Alliance, Blood Elf or Draenei, Paladin or Shaman, it's becoming abundantly clear that this is Warcraft's world, and we're just living in it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I am a huge fan of World of Warcraft, and I've been dying to do this video for such a long time, and now I want to know, what's your experience with WoW? Are you a noob, a seasoned player? Are you going to be returning for Battle for Azeroth? Let me know in the comments. As always, please subscribe to NowThis Nerd, and if you want to quest with me, I'm playing on Storm Rage, and my battle net is Disco Sludge 1505.